So overall, that has been my update. We still highly recommend this one. The 12.9-inch model, if you're getting the cheap one and you want that display, you can actually make use of it. It is a great device. But for an overall computing device, do I think I was a little bit too harsh? Honestly, guys, after trying to apply what you guys were saying and using it the way you guys suggested, I still am having a very hard time making sense, unless money doesn't matter for you. Sure, in that case, buy all the Apple devices and use them. But overall, other than the display, I don't think it really is worth it compared to older options for much less money buying a refurbished or used.
So make sure you stay tuned for that. So after 2 months with the 11-inch M1 iPad Pro, I feel like this is definitely the way to go. A lot of you guys wanted to know how the white Magic Keyboard
and it can do some amazing feats of computing. But as I use this thing, this very beautiful object every day, and as I run into its limitations, I can't help but think about the M1 processor that's inside it and what I know the M1 processor can do on a Mac. I've been saying the same things about the iPad and the iPad Pros for years now, and they're still true. If you need a new iPad and you're willing to spend the money on getting the very best iPad, this is the very best iPad. Just remember that it's an iPad.
And this is the new M1 iPad Pro. It looks almost exactly the same as the last one. That's because if the screen's not on, it almost is the same as the last one. But there are a couple things that are new about this that make it even more of the ultimate iPad, which again naturally raises the question of like, well, what is an iPad anyway? And what is a computer? I'll get to that later.
It's still a little bit slow to charge, and we haven't got any improvement in that area. So that's something I would like to see for the next iteration. So let's wrap up. And this is a pretty big refresh of the Pros. But if you already have an iPad from the last couple of years, I don't think it's worth an upgrade, at least not yet. Let's see if the M1 chip comes into its own and makes these genuinely more of a Pro device rather than just a souped-up iPad Air. But if you've got any questions after...
And I have to say, for day-to-day usage, the performance of this M1 chip is just completely not worth it. It's just not useful for me and my purpose of this iPad. I usually do note-taking, photo editing, watching videos, and probably do some whiteboarding. I use a bunch of whiteboard apps. I don't know, I feel like I'm just wasting my money on this M1 chip because most of the stuff that people do on an iPad, I'm not talking about creative professional, most of stuff that people do, like general people that uses iPad will probably be totally fine with A14 or even A12X Bionic chip. Now, I feel like I'm not utilizing the full potential of this chip at all. The only real advantage that you can actually feel from this tablet is probably on the RAM side. Since this tablet have 8 gigs of RAM on an iPad, which is pretty crazy, you can probably
all together. So, do I recommend the iPad Pro? Absolutely. I love this thing. I'm a daily user. So it's an easy recommendation on my end, and 2021's version is no different. One thing we do have to
Screen protector, don't tell my boss. Okay, in general, is the iPad Pro worth buying? I have already outlined that I enjoy using this device. It has enhanced both my work life and my hobbies. But I do have to concede, I did not buy this. The Office did. So would I spend 1100 MSRP for the iPad Pro plus 350 for the Magic Keyboard? You know what? Maybe. It would have to be in lieu of a laptop.
I actually prefer this. Not because I don't like screen real estate on a big screen. It's just because I love this screen size. This is just a more fun way to work. I can carry this little thing everywhere. The keyboard is fantastic to write on. The speediness of the M1 chip feels great, and it's even better with the 120Hz screen. Alright, I'm actually not able to do all the work I want to do on the iPad. Or maybe I could in theory.
There are a ton of tablets on the market today, from Apple to Samsung. Heck, even Amazon has a popular tablet lineup. This is an incredibly competitive field, and about a year ago, the iPad Air 4 hit the street. While it might not be the highest end, the flashiest, or the smallest iPad in all of the lineup, I personally think that over the past year, the Air 4 has no kidding shown itself to be the most solid of all the tablets in the iPad lineup, and I would call it a perfect tablet. So why is that? Let's find out. What's up, everyone?
I'm KBHD here. Okay, finally, a month after it was announced at that September event, the new iPad Air is finally here. And it turns out, if anything out there is actually an iPad Pro killer, it's this. I mean, I've talked.
If you're thinking of getting an iPad right now because maybe you're staring down a long lockdown winter where you can't even go outside and so you need to binge even more Netflix than you have been, then this is the iPad that I recommend for almost everybody who can afford it. It's the new $599 iPad Air.
Model. Apple provides really good operating system support, and my iPad Air 2 from 2014 is still supported by iPadOS 15. So the iPad Air 4 should easily be able to last me for another 5 to 6 years, and I still think it's a great option. Now you should check out my absolute favorite accessories for the
we're all gonna be sitting around the dinner table being thankful for family and friends, and then tomorrow see how much savings we can get on a bunch of crap we don't need. So that's why I wanted to stop you right there and say, don't buy the iPad Air. I really can't find very many reasons to go with it right now, and I'll give you some alternatives and some.
And even this iPad Air 4 with the A14 Bionic, the performance is totally fine, and for everyday usage, I think you won't have any type of problem. But just wait.
I don't personally have a use case that really fits this iPad mini, so that's why I won't be getting one. But I think those who are thinking about getting it already know. You probably already have a thing that you're imagining getting it for, something that you.
Okay, so with my final thoughts, here's the thing. I can't recommend this to everybody because...
So in conclusion, I highly recommend the iPad mini 6. Forget about the jelly scrolling thing and all those things I mentioned a moment ago that I'd like to see in the device. A complete wish list.
Now, with that being said, I absolutely love the iPad mini 6. In fact, got a love-hate relationship with it. Let's talk about it.
So with all of that said, there is only one thing that's stopping this new iPad mini from being the perfect compact iPad.
Hi Apple support, I'd like to return the iPad mini. Why is that? Well, let's talk.
I do wish we got a bit of a design refresh, especially with that front forehead. I'm not gonna cry about Touch ID. I still think it's a great option to have. And I do still think the entry-level iPad has a solid place in the iPad lineup, especially coming in at that price. It's way cheaper than any other option that you can get. And I know a lot of people...
But you know what? You know what the real star of Apple's September event was? It was the iPad, the regular old iPad. Now I know this iPad doesn't get an exciting new redesign, but it continues to deliver on what I called previous versions of this model as one of the best deals in tech, and even though this device may look exactly the same as the previous generation, Apple actually made some really big improvements to this device, so much so in fact, that I think it might actually be the best value in the entire iPad lineup, because realistically, how much iPad do you really need? Now, believe it or not,
it might not be the flashiest or the most up-to-date cutting-edge version of the iPad, but the brand new iPad Generation 9 is no slouch. And at this price point, it comes with some very exciting and key features. So how has mine held up over the past couple of weeks? Let's find out.
If you're choosing between the iPad 8 and the iPad 9, my choice would come down to the price difference. So if you can find an amazing deal on the iPad 8, I would jump on it. If you already have an iPad 8, I'm not sure that the iPad 9 is a worthwhile upgrade, unless you need more storage, at which point you might as well get all the other benefits of the improved camera system and the upgraded chip. I also read in the comments section that people were able to get crazy high trade-in value for their iPad 8, and they were able to upgrade for about $70 and double their storage. So that's something you may want to explore. After spending a month with the iPad 9, I believe that it's an even better value than I initially thought. So here's all.
Coming from the iPad Pro, I was pleasantly surprised at how capable the new iPad is. I've gotten used to using the Magic Keyboard and its trackpad for work on my iPad Pro, so I found the new iPad's Smart Keyboard Folio without a trackpad a bit lacking. Between that and the smaller screen, it's not my first choice for tasks that required me to keep an eye on multiple things simultaneously. But it is a great device for drafting this review, plus all the iPad things I want to do when I'm not working. Honestly, I can do just about everything I can with my iPad Pro on the new iPad. There are a few slight changes and compromises here, But for the consumers Apple is targeting, those things might be moot. The iPad remains a very good tablet at a fair price.
But besides the Pro, is there any other reason why you should really buy any other iPad? Like, should you really spend $300 more on an iPad Air instead of an iPad? It really is a hard sell. And listen, I know, I love getting new tech. I'm really into all the advancements and stuff like that. So it is hard to turn down new and shiny. But again, how much iPad do you really need? Because at $329, the regular iPad is the best value in Apple's entire iPad lineup. In fact, I think it's the best valued product that Apple sells, period.
So in my opinion, unless you really need that smart connector for keyboard support, I would honestly spend the extra $170 on the new iPad mini 6, because I think there's a pretty good chance that Apple will totally redesign the iPad 9 next year for the 10th anniversary model, and you're gonna be stuck with the old design that nobody wants anymore. But then again, if future-proofing isn't that big of a deal for you, and you just want a new iPad without spending half a grand on it, the new iPad 9 is definitely a killer value for everything that you get.
It's a great tool, a great companion to any kind of phone, whether you have an iPhone or an Android phone or a MacBook or a Windows PC. An iPad is sort of its own standalone device. So if you're someone who doesn't want to completely envelop themselves in Apple products, if you have to have one, this is the one to have. And if you're not willing to fork out more or a lot of money for one, this is not gonna hurt your wallet that much. Again, I promise you, $300 for this, and even less considering the sales that are gonna happen on this once again, like I mentioned, makes this a very worthwhile Apple product.
It's renovated in 2021 with a couple new features that you love. So this is my review and my student's perspective on the iPad 9th gen. Okay, let me tell you straight off. This iPad is great. It's great in value, like it's probably the best Apple products in terms of value, and well, it's cheap. It's great at doing so many things. It's a great tool for gaming, note-taking, illustrating, surfing the web, etc. So many people are always confused on whether you should buy a MacBook.
The base iPad is one of the best bang for your buck computers Apple has to offer. And this year it got some really nice upgrades. So first up, the display.
Alright, wrapping it all up, the 2021 iteration of the iPad is a solid entry-level tablet for most productivity and entertainment tasks with an unmatched price to performance ratio. It has a fairly premium feel, it has superb performance and a long-lasting battery life that will not give up on you in the middle of the day. Furthermore, the iPad OS works wonders to elevate the big screen experience.